What happens when you've done everything you're supposed to do, everything you've been taught to do to create the perfect life? And when you get there, you realize that it still just isn't hitting the mark. We have a fantastic stories from the other side today, all about transformation and realization of what it truly means to be happy. Let's get started. Welcome to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast dedicated to helping women navigate the emotional journey that is divorce. I'm your host, Erica, and if you're trying to figure out life after the big D, welcome to the club. Whether you're contemplating divorce or dealing with the aftermath or any of the many phases in between, the club has got you covered. Each week, you'll hear stories from women who have been in your shoes. This isn't about spilling tea on divorce details. This is about giving you the tools to take control of your own healing journey. Listen in weekly for advice, tips, and tools to help you move through each stage of the process. Welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. I'm your host, Erica, and today our guest is Sherry. So welcome, Sherry. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being willing to share your story with our listeners.
Oh my goodness, of course. Hi, Erica.
Hello. Yeah. So you guys, Sherry has a fantastic story. I mean, I say fantastic, but every divorce story is hard
Yeah.
and painful and difficult and
hmm
uncertainty and all of the things. But her story is so powerful because of, how she was raised and what she was taught to work
hmm
towards. And it's one of
hmm
the things that I'm most excited to share with listeners because I think they're really going to resonate with your story of how you got through it. So tell us a little bit about your divorce story, your marriage and divorce story.
Yeah. So, like you said, I did everything right. And I think a lot of people, like from Asian background or even immigrants, a lot of immigrant families and second generation living in the States may resonate with us is that, we are raised to be the good girl, to be the people pleaser. We have to have both sides, which is very traditional. We follow the timeline, but you also have to have a career as well and have good education. So I did everything. And I mean, I took accounting degree because my dad is accountant to make him happy. And then I did education degree because my mom is an educator just to make her happy. This timeline of get married before 30, have kids before 30, or else it's too late. No one wants you. So I followed that to the T. I basically got pregnant when I was 29 and had the baby by 30. Yeah. So I did everything right. But immediately after I had my kid, I just started to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like everything feels so weird. And I was even a stay-home mom because that was in my script. I had to be the stay-home mom, get a job that's very flexible so that you can, navigate your kids, drop off, illness, whatever. So I did all that. But by the time I hit 35, I'm just like, I'm really done because I was crying myself to bed every single night for many, many years. And yeah, that's kind of long story short,
Yeah.
basically 7 years of marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? When Sherry and I were first talking, we were reflecting on how we were raised, and raised here in the States. I was raised, my mom did choose to stay home with us. So she got her
Mm-hmm.
degree. She was a teacher. Then she chose to stay home. And so we were very
Mm-hmm.
much raised like, go to college, get a career, like do all the things. And so that
Yeah.
was, we were talking about how different that was, right? Because Sherry, you were raised like, hey, learn to manage a home and learn to
Yeah.
prioritize raising kids. And that wasn't important in my side, but their story of like, go do these other things too, go experience and explore. And it is so interesting because even with that background for me, I still chased the concept of the white picket fence, the, two
Mm-hmm.
kids and two dogs and a 50-year wedding anniversary and a house with a
Mm-hmm.
big yard and, family parties at the house for birthdays or holidays or whatever it was. And it was still this like mythical, it's like a creature, right? Like we craft
Yeah.
this idea of what a marriage is
Right.
supposed to be. We
Mm.
see or read, and then the reality hits and we're like, this is not ticking all the
Mm-mm.
boxes. This is not filling me up the way that it's supposed to.
Exactly. And I think it took me such a long time to really look at myself and say, okay, this enough is enough. Because I think with the 7 years of marriage, again, I was like crying myself to sleep. But also, I practiced this thing called detachment. Basically, I was kind of imagine myself in a different world. It wasn't until I was like, what, second year into my therapy sessions that I realized that was something that I did just automatically. That's how I survived. And it's so crazy to think about that because I didn't even know that was a thing. And that was my coping mechanism. And I had to actually stop doing that in order
Yeah.
to face my own fear and what's really in front of me.
Yeah. And that fear definitely keeps us stuck for such a long time. We create all sorts of stories of like, this really isn't that bad, or what's wrong with me, or why am I like wanting other things? So, what did you do to finally speak your truth? Because I think that's also a really hard thing. We know, a lot of times we know it, but then being able to share that with another person can kind of leave us in that in between space for a lot longer.
Mhm. I think eventually, because of my grandmother actually passed away when I was 34, 35. And that really got me thinking, exactly what am I here for? Am I actually going to keep living like this forever? So that actually kind of kicked me into really looking at what am I going to do now? Like, what can I do? Because I think before, as someone who wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and wanted to have a kid, but, putting all the financial pressure on my partner, I was also giving him all the responsibility to make me happy. But of course, it did not make me happy. And so had to take the ownership. But that was really difficult because it was so scary. But I remember one thing that I did that really kind of disrupt everything is that exactly is a disruption that you actually just have to break the pattern. I had to ask my ex, like, are you happy? And he was so surprised when asking that question. I
Yeah.
think that kind of broke it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is true because breaking the pattern is the key because we fall into the same habits. It's easier to just continue to answer. In my story, I had asked him for years, like, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. What's wrong?
Mm-mm,
Nothing's wrong. Like, I can tell something's wrong. And it
mm,
wasn't until he broke the pattern, like, yeah, you know what? I'm not happy. That then real change could happen because otherwise we're locked in these dynamics of playing the same role and we think something's there, we're
mhm.
asking, but they're not nothing's changing. We can either do something different or ask something different to create the opening to have the conversation.
Absolutely. And it really took a lot of courage to do just that. And letting that discomfort starts to show. Because I think I was such a people pleaser. Any sort of chaos and disruption was so uncomfortable for me. I remember
Mhm.
I basically never really argued with my ex because I just hated confrontation so much. So I ended up not having any kind of conversation with him. I go to bed when he's still in the study and then he comes to bed. And that was it.
Mhm.
That was that for many years. But yeah, but it really took a lot just to break that pattern and
Yeah,
face what's gonna happen next.
right? And that's the thing. It's a big uncertainty, but we all make that choice when we get to a place where that pain of staying is greater than the pain
Mhm.
of the unknown because nobody knows.
Mhm.
Nobody knows what's going to happen to them after divorce. Even though I was the primary breadwinner, right? Like I had the bigger salary, I had a great salary. I
Wow.
still struggled. Like, how was I going to pay for this? How was I going to be able to continue to build the life I wanted? How was I going to be able to work with a kid at home that
Mhm.
now I didn't have a backup? I couldn't stay late at work. I
Mm.
couldn't take a last minute trip request when it came up. There's a lot of uncertainty, but there also is a lot of truth that comes with it because now you
Mhm.
get to build what you want. You no longer are like, okay, well, the status quo. There's these
Mhm.
expectations. There's these things I have to do. Well, You did the one that everybody still thinks is taboo, which is got divorced. What do you
Mm,
now? How do you listen? How do you want to move forward? I also think your comment that you put a lot of pressure on him to make you happy is really
mhm.
powerful and deserves a little like exploration because we hear it on both sides, right? I see it scrolling. You see the reels. Guys are, making the reels where they're like, I did everything. I went to work. I made
Yeah.
the money. I worked. She could have what she wanted. And she had, the house or the stay home with kids or the car that she wanted or the clothes or the whatever. And we miss that it's usually not the monetary things. The money is good because it relieves fear, right? Money gives you
Yeah.
freedom. Money without the connection or without getting clear on what you really want and who
Mhm,
really are leads to people to build something that is kind of fake. Like they doing
mhm,
it for the other person and they realize that it's not filling themselves up.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, oh gosh, I mean, if looking back, I honestly had no idea who I was and what I wanted. And even though I had an accounting degree, I actually thought that I am not good at earning money. I will never make money. And I thought I'm so bad at investing in money. And he actually said that to me as well. And I just took it. I was like, okay, that's right. Men should know more than women. I just kind of had that mentality. And I think even before marriage, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to depend on you, not just, the money aspect of it, but I had no idea there's also the emotional aspect, the mental aspect. You're actually putting all that responsibility on someone that
Yeah.
for me, I hardly know because I didn't know there was so much that comes in a marriage. So yeah, so I kind of chose marriage without knowing what the heck I was doing.
I mean, same, same. I had not been in any long-term relationship prior to the man that I married. So, like, every time I dated somebody, it ended by about 3 months because I was like, "Oh, this is not gonna work." Like, I just kinda knew, right? I was like, "Yep, okay, fun." No, not gonna work. And that was the pattern, and so I was like, "Okay, great." When I found this one that stayed, this must be it. This must be it. But we weren't having the conversations. And I wasn't staying true to who I was. I was morphing into what did the relationship or the family dynamic need? That people pleaser that you talked about. How much more can I take on so that our family can be okay? And that created a huge imbalance because he checked out, right? Like he wanted to be out socializing, drinking, hanging out. I was like, "Wait, we're in the phase where we're supposed to be like at home being boring, reading books or watching TV because our 2-year-old is sleeping in the bedroom. Like, I don't want to go out. I'm exhausted. Like, I do not want to sit in a bar stool and have to wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning. Like, there were things that shifted in conversations that didn't happen. So powerful. And the lesson too is that you don't repeat it. So we have that starter marriage. We make these mistakes. We dive into something that looks good on paper that we thought was supposed to be the thing. And we have all of these learnings and all of these realizations and all these ahas that we then get to take with us and not repeat and not bring forward into a future relationship. So for somebody who's sitting in the space of like, I know I need to have the conversation, but I don't know how. Any words of wisdom for somebody to break that pattern?
Ooh, I think definitely give yourself a lot of grace. I think that's first and foremost. You have to just give yourself a lot of room and space. And this is not going to be a fun conversation. No matter what you do, it's just not going to be a fun one. And it's supposed to be very uncomfortable. So I think I would, if I had to go back and actually tell myself, is that, you know what? Discomfort is great. It's really not something that you absolutely need to run away from. And I think the more you're able to stand in discomfort, the more you're able to grow and actually be very honest with yourself. So I would think the next thing would just be, what do you actually want? Like you can ask the question, you can disrupt the pattern, but what do you expect? Have a little bit of no plans, yeah, plans, and also just had that conversation with yourself first, and then, yeah, and then act on that.
Right? Yeah, I love that. I used to write out all conversations. I have a lot of conversations in my head. Confession, no? Write them out, I'd have to practice them because same thing, confrontation, discomfort makes me uncomfortable, or I wanted to make sure that the conversation stayed productive. How often do conversations spiral into hot messes of arguments and triggers? And so, practicing it, writing it out, even just figuring out what is that sentence that breaks the pattern, like, "Hey, really need to talk. I'm struggling. I'm unhappy. Like, I need to have a really big conversation with you." Or like you said, "Are you happy?" Being able to open the doors. You're not walking in being like, "I want a divorce," but you are walking in and saying, "Something's wrong, and I don't think I can keep doing this version of this marriage." So either we are deciding this is over or we're deciding we're gonna try and fix it. So after, how did you rebuild? What did you do? What did those first steps look like after you decided that divorce was the right option?
So I took some very messy steps. Learned a lot from that. I would say there are a couple of things that definitely, I wouldn't say success, it was, but definitely very good learning lessons. And hopefully, all the listeners can learn from that. I jumped into a relationship right after. That's not a good idea.
No, it's okay. So it's not. I agree with you. And so many do it. And I was just
Mhm.
talking about this yesterday, right? You fall like head over heels. No matter
Mhm.
I waited a while. We were separated 2 years, and then when I was like, "Okay, we're done. I'm ready to start dating," still fell head over heels. Like dumb. Like we all like are like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, here it is again." So, okay, so you got into a relationship right away. Happens.
Yeah, it happens. But I think that the one of the things I've done that was really kind of detrimental is that I put that idealization on that guy again, the perfect marriage, the perfect family. Because I think a lot of times when we get divorced, having that perfect family that's still in our head, and we wanted that. I wanted that at the time. So I was chasing that. And then I think the person that happened to me, I felt head over heel. And I was like, okay, he's it. He's going to save me again, save me from this. And then because, of course, it didn't go well, I had to start taking back my ownership. Okay, what do I want? So that's when I really get into coaching because I needed to be coached first. But I actually took the course and then get a certification. But with that, I was really coaching myself a lot and just like, okay, what do I want? Asking myself the very difficult question. So that took a few years. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? Well, and it makes sense because we want to find a reason that we went through all this stuff. And so
Mhm.
we find that, oh, okay, here's the reason. Look how great it's going to be. Look how amazing it's going to be. And then we get
Yeah.
stuck in that for a while too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for a while after divorce, I was really looking for that reason. Like, okay, this sucks so bad. I just failed. I put a label on myself. I failed something. It sucks so bad. I disappointed a 4-year-old self. I disappointed
Yeah.
everyone in my family. I disappointed my child. What am I going to do? I got to rebuild that. I got to like take back my ego and rebuild that. So I think that was me kind of chasing that. But I think eventually you just had to put it all aside and be very honest with yourself that, okay, what am I doing? And
Yeah.
who cares if anyone judge me? Like, no one really judges me as much as I judge myself. So I think the moment I realized that,
Yeah.
then that's really when I can move forward.
Yeah. And that's huge. Being able to stop trying to live up to what we think other people are saying about us. They are. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's your life.
Yeah.
You're the one that has to live it. I think one of the other comments that you had made was, there's no winning and there's no losing in this.
Mm, mm.
And that's so
Yeah.
powerful to think that it's not about, okay, I won. Look at how I redid everything. Look at how I'm better in this new relationship. Look at what I've accomplished. And that is still leaning heavily on external validation and like signs, proof. Look at what I did. It wasn't me. Look at what I did. It's a big piece we have to set aside when we're in this divorce journey.
Yeah, especially I think if you had to go through legal battle. And I think the winning and losing, I mean, yeah, obviously it's right there. You win, you lose, it's right there. That's in the name.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, and I had to go through that and I'm still in it. I'm still in I divorced, but my custody battle is still ongoing. It's been 5 years. Not gonna lie. It's definitely a really good lesson for me to just like face my own fear and set aside all ego because my ego's gone. And it's really not about winning and losing, especially if you have to co-parent with someone that you don't really want to live with. That's such a tricky place. And if you think about winning, you may end up losing a little bit later. So it's really not about that. You really had to learn to set that aside. And I understand when you first enter the court, I think everyone wanted to win. Everyone wanted to be done to win, to get a shark, to get a really good lawyer. But I think at the end of the day, it's really not about that. It's still about your kid,
Yeah.
right? It's still about your mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, because and I think when we put up a expectation that there's, somebody has to win, a sports game, somebody wins when the score and the time runs out. And especially when you're co-parenting, there's not a time when it runs out. This is an ongoing relationship that you're going to continue to have with this person who also has their own hurt and also has their own pain and their own reactions. And so it can get very messy and it can be very difficult. And, so where you're at, you're in this 5 years, you're still working through it. We're not saying that to scare anybody, but we're saying, like, it's about the journey. It's about it's not about her being like, "Okay, I just need to win this custody battle, so this is over." Because it's really never over. Because even when you come to a parenting agreement or a time schedule or child support payment, you still have to text the person. You still have to talk to them, like, "Hey, you don't have to talk a lot, but, here's the pickup details," or, "Hey, child was sick today," or right now, I mean, for us right now, it's back to school, right? Like, "Hey, we're doing all the school shopping. I took care of all of this. Can you please take him to get a backpack and new shoes?" It's those pieces that still have to be coordinated.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just exactly what you said. Yeah.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted from overthinking, and stuck in uncertainty, this message is for you. You don't have to keep feeling that way. Inside the club, you'll find a safe space to rediscover who you are, clarify what you want, and determine how you want to move forward. Surrounded by women who truly understand and guided by expert support, you are not alone on this journey. Join us at thecrazyexwivesclub.com/the club. It's time to reclaim your life. How are you maintaining your sanity through the ongoing struggles?
Mm, such a great question. So I actually ended up going to therapy. That's why I went to therapy, actually. So I went to therapy for 2 years and a half, consistently every single week. That was something that I invest in myself because I actually noticed that no matter how much I complain about that, I got friends, close friends, but if they had never gone through that situation, they don't know. And every single divorce is very unique. So I had to talk to someone that actually can help me through it. So when I first went into therapy, that was why I went because I wanted to really understand why I'm so stressed out and I'm so anxious every time I see his messages, my stomach's just in a knot. And seeing him in court, that was hard. Reading court paper, that was hard. But so 2 years and a half gone by. Actually, late last year, my therapist asked me, let's take let's just, what are your takeaways from, these 2 years and a half of session we're about to end? And I named everything like my career, my relationship with myself and everything. And then my therapist looked at me and she said, "You didn't talk about court." at all. And I think that's the moment I understood, not because the court didn't wasn't ongoing, it was ongoing, but I started to remove that focus. That's like the focal point of my life and into the background. So I was really, actually dealing with what I love, what I wanted to do, as opposed to thinking about the thing that needs to end. So I stopped actually putting a timeline on the custody battle. And every time I go to court, the only goal I have is I'm just going to be proud of myself. And that's it. I wasn't even thinking about, do I have confidence or anything like that. I just want to be proud of myself. So I think that was a big shift, is that I removed that from the focal point.
You removed it from being the biggest defining thing in your life to,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a thing I'm going through, and yeah, does it suck? Yeah, but I have all these other things.
Yeah.
And we all struggle to make that shift. I remember a couple years after all the divorce was final, I was driving home, venting to a friend, right? It out, being pissed. He did this to me. And then I was
Mhm.
like, it's been almost 3 years. Like 3
Mhm.
years. His affair is not really holding you back anymore. Your
Mhm.
constant focus and story around it versus, is it a thing I had to deal with? Yeah, I had to learn how to deal with the other woman. I had to learn how to co-parent with extra people. I had to learn a lot of things, but it wasn't the main story. You do have to challenge yourself to not let it become the one and only
Mhm.
deciding thing that takes up all your time. When you talk to your friends, is it the only thing you talk about? Yes, we all need to vent, and this is where I
Mhm.
tell you the club is your space for that, because
Mhm.
friends don't get it. They haven't been through it. They
Mm-mm.
have
Mhm.
their own personal story and fears and things going on. And sometimes they just want to like sit in the juicy details because it feels really good
Yeah.
to be angry at your
Yeah.
ex or your soon to be ex. And so
Mhm.
finding the right space for a while too, I think that therapy is always a great starting point to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, "Okay, I've learned about myself, but I need people who get it," then
Mhm.
join the club, like, join the
Mhm.
divorce membership so that you have those
Mhm.
people because it makes a world of difference. It's like the thing
Mhm.
that stops it from being this is a 10-year issue
Mhm.
to, "Okay, do I have some, 2 steps forward, 1 step back?" For sure, but I have women and people that are like, "Keep you
Mm.
yes, today was hard, but you got this,
Yeah.
and you can get through it, and you're living proof of that because here you are years later, transformation. Like, "Hey, yeah, am I still dealing with them? Yeah. Am I still going to court? Yeah. Do his texts still make you sick to your stomach? Do they
Not as
give you
much.
anxiety?"
Not
Yeah,
as
like,
much. Yeah.
you have taken your power back. We stop
Mhm.
giving our power away to other people, and we own it, and we choose
Mhm.
how we wanna create it. How are you creating your happiness now? Because you have recently shifted. I know you talked about your coaching certification,
Mhm.
but you're now helping other people through big transformations.
Yeah, and that was something I made a decision this year, because I think going through divorce, going through custody battle, and for the last couple years, I also went through kind of a toxic work environment situation. So this year, I'm just like, I'm done. I wanted to do what I love to do. And that's really when I just reinvest my time into coaching and really helping women, especially. They were people pleasers in the back. They were the ones that kind of clean up everything for everyone. I was like a perfect secretary. I know everyone's drink preference. I know everyone how they take their coffee. No one asked me to remember that, but I just do. Is really helping these women to kind of, one, channel their anger, like be angry, know how to be angry. I think actually I had to learn that. It was very difficult.
It's hard. I shut down. My anger was so out of control that I had shut it down in my healing journey. And I was like, it doesn't have a space. We don't need anger. But yeah, you have to learn how to be angry in a healthy way. Like anger that helps to create change, not anger that burns the house down that you're trying to live in.
Right. Yeah. But I think a lot of women kind of rush into the forgiveness. Immediately, we have to forgive everyone. but I forgot the anger part. So actually, like, how do you channel that into something more productive? And yeah, how do you just the best revenge is just to reinvent yourself. And I think the thing is, my ex, he already got married, he had a kid. I stay single because I've been just taking care of my child and having a career, which I have no regrets. But I think I am loving life. Like, and back to your question, I really love doing what I do, even though it is still scary. The thing is, reinvention is scary. It is uncomfortable. I still feel uncomfortable every day, but I have no regrets. And I know that, again, it's like, the uncertainty used to scare me so much. But now there's that excitement there that I think it's worth it to try. But yeah. And I also love that when you say about finding your people. I think it's so important to find your people that actually understand your situation. Because for me, I actually had to navigate resetting a lot of relationship friendships after divorce. Because again, some people just want the juicy details, and some people, they just kind of look at you like, oh my goodness, that's hard. But they're not, again, it's not really helping you to go forward. But yeah, having that support system is really important. Even just have a couple, like I know, I'm in Taiwan, so my time, such a time difference. So I do have to kind of find my own support system, not many, but a couple, and that's enough. But that's incredibly important. Have your support system and have your passion and just do that.
Just do that. Figure out what lights you
Mm,
up and do more of that. And then have a couple good friends. I too, the reworking of friends was difficult because I'd never had a huge friend circle. So I was like, God, I don't want
mm,
to lose anybody else. But I started to realize that even some of the new friendships I had built, like I remember specifically there was a woman that I hung out with heavily. I met her through the gym. So we're working
mhm,
out, we're doing classes together and started the bond there. And then we had kids and then we both were unhappily married and we both were complaining about, husbands. Then mine turned into like really complaining about husbands as all the details came out. And after I went through my journey to transform and become who I wanted to be, which was somebody who could look at something with love and grace, who could choose to allow people to be human. We're all hurting. Doesn't mean that I put myself aside, doesn't mean that I put myself in places that hurt me. But if somebody acts not the greatest, I kind of get why and I can let them do their thing. Right. And she was still very heavily focused on the complaining side. And I realized that after we hung out, I was so tired and I felt so sad about things. And I had realized that even some of the friendships I had built, I had to start to let them go because I wasn't the same person anymore. And I didn't want to spend time complaining about stuff that, like, then do something about it. It's kind of the whole point of this podcast, right? Like, you do not have to stay stuck feeling hurt or feeling resentful or feeling unhappy, but you have to own the work to understand, why do you feel that way and what do you really need, and can you gift that to yourself? And now you also have a podcast, Soft Power Podcast, so tell us a little bit about your podcast.
mm. Oh, yeah, I love to. So I think as someone who navigated of 7 years of transformation, and again, it's a continuous project. I call it a project because I feel like it's never quite, never ends. We're ever evolving. And I just got really interested in the soft power aspect, the softness and the boldness, and how do you have the blend of both? And because I think as a women, we have that power, and that is part of our lives and the part of our, weaved in our families, how we wanted to execute things, how do we do leadership. And I think it's time for us to really bring that with us and not just simply replicating the masculine energy and how it's been presented to us. Again, I think,
Yeah.
and throughout our corporate life, that was the example. That was, the success. So I tried that. So for so many years, but that wasn't me. That wasn't myself. And I do think a lot of women regardless of culture background. I think we're finding that the soft power, it's something is so beautiful, yet it is so powerful to have. And as we get older, I think that's something that we really fall into. We kind of like really hone that and bring it to within us,
Yeah.
doing anything. Yeah.
I love it, you guys. I am so passionate about this topic because also
Mhm.
like dove deep into understanding feminine, masculine energies. We have both. We
Yeah.
always are a continuum. It's flexing between the two. But personal opinion, soapbox moment, is I do feel like we got a little bit on the wrong direction of trying to prove that as women, we can be as strong as men. We don't
Yeah.
have to be. A soft power is a very different power. Can they do more
Mhm.
push ups or pull ups, or can you do the same amount? Maybe you can do the same amount. Is that really what the goal is? Or is
Mhm.
the goal that we each bring our unique power, our skill set? And it's when
Mhm.
we have the combination of the two, when we stop trying to be each other, like I'm better than you
Mhm.
because I can do more masculine things. Okay, can we really, as women, answer
Mhm.
the call to step into our soft power, into how powerful being feminine truly is when we learn it isn't weakness, it isn't being emotional, it's being intuitive. It's being
Yeah.
understanding how to guide conversations, without demanding that you should fear me and that's why you're listening to me,
Mhm.
right? It
Mhm.
it is learning when do we rest and when do we work and how do we follow these cycles, and it is super powerful and it's missing in our
Mhm.
society. We're not taught how to do that. I have a personal
Mhm.
opinion that because like our parents, our moms we're
Mhm.
of the generation that our moms fought so hard for us to have women's rights, which we should have. I'm not saying take those away.
Mhm.
I'm saying, but in the fight for us to have all of those women's rights,
Yeah.
we kind of lost the beautiful part that is being feminine in
Mhm.
in having that feminine power versus just yes, you can go march and yes, you can earn the same and yes, you can be in the C-suite and you can. And
Mhm.
we need to
Mhm.
do it a little different. Soft
Yeah.
power is a little different. So, highly recommend. You guys will have all the links for this stuff too. I've got Sherry's links. I've got her podcast links. All of it is in the show notes for you to be able to find her and to start following her podcast. It's also on the crazyxwivesclub.com/episodes where you can read more about our chat that we had today. Do you have any final advice for women in the trenches? Anything else you'd like for them to know?
Yeah, a couple, I think. I mean, there's so many. And I think, first of all, if you are going through any kind of court battle, I understand it's not fun, but also at the same time, it's okay because honestly, we cannot stop anyone from, going to court with you. Right? Like we live in a society where that's allowed. But the thing is, it's all about how you react to it. And you definitely have the power to shift that into something where you can learn. And again, it's not about winning and losing. And the earlier you know about that, I think the better. So that you don't let the other side take control of you. You take your power back once you know it's not about winning and losing. And just put all your effort on your career, your health, and your kid. I think that's the most important thing. And I think, yes, it's not the easiest thing. It may take who knows how many years, or it could be months. But I think the more you're willing to invest in yourself, that's the most important thing. I mean, I felt like there's so many other things I could say, but I would definitely think this is the most important advice I would give because everyone kind of get caught up in this like, oh, I got to get like a super, really good lawyer. It's really ultimately, yeah, get a good lawyer that understands you. I think that's more important if you have to find a lawyer, the person that actually gets you. And then, but, all your emotional health, your mental health, take that ownership back. That's your job. And also, it's amazing to actually get to take care of yourself.
It's so powerful. Your happiness is never reliant on anybody else. Not because you're not choosing, like I'm in a relationship. Does he make me happy? Yes. But if I'm unhappy, whose job is it to fix it? It's mine. Sometimes is he the one that steps in to do it? For sure, but it's not his job. It's mine. It's my job to figure out what do I need right now so that I'm not unhappy, so that I'm not draining versus filling things back up. So take all that energy, take all that focus that you've spent worrying about how to fix the relationship, how to fix the partner, how to make them do what you want to do, and invest it in you. Figure out who you are. We sometimes rush into that first one. This is your invitation to slow it down. Figure out who you are and what you want. And we have such a pressure to be like, oh, I bounced right back. I got divorced, but look at me. Everything is fine. Slow it down, you guys. Take the time to be like, do I want to live here? Do I want to stay in this house? Do I want to leave this house? Do I want to stay in the area? Do I want to leave the area? You now have that time to rewrite every aspect of your life. So enjoy that time and be conscious, focused of what you're building.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I love that when you say about don't rush into anything. And then maybe it's the power of social media. I'm not sure, but we're all kind of hoping for that overnight transformation. Yeah, it seems really sexy, of course. We all want that. But the thing is, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. And I've seen a lot of people that jump into the next step and they get into another relationship, they get into another family. But eventually, all the unresolved issue will come back if you don't deal with it. So take your time. I think that's definitely one of the best advice. And no one is going to judge you for taking your time. People who cares about you will never judge you. They will applaud you, I think.
Yeah. They will be amazed at all that you have created because you did it strategically. You really thought it through. So thank you, Sherry, so much for joining. Again, you guys, you can learn more about Sherry, get her podcast link, find her social handles in the show notes, as well as on the crazyexwifesclub.com under episodes. If you are struggling to find the right support, please take a look at the club. You can find more details under services on the crazyexwifesclub.com. We meet 3 times a month. We're there to support you as you rebuild. Until next week, you guys, give yourself grace, find some time to reflect on what you really want, and then go enjoy the rest of your day. And that's it. Another great episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast for women learning how to heal from their divorce. Tune in next week for more advice and tips to help you figure out life after divorce. And until then, give yourself grace, do the best you can, and know that this is all part of the process.